Hello again. It is perhaps a reflection of the way in which a small but well-organised group can influence our democratic process that, despite the fact that 82% of the electorate in London did not vote for him, Sadiq Khan is still firmly in the saddle. This is not a prospect greeted with enthusiasm, of course, in all quarters. It is a feature of our democratic process in this country that only a few people bother to vote in local elections, which means that if you can marshal a couple of hundred people to vote for your cause, you're likely to get in. This explains why we have more than a dozen local councillors now in England who are dedicated only to the cause of Islam and a determination to fight against Zionism. Sadiq Khan is a little more subtle than this, of course, but the signs of his true nature are legible if you look closely. For example, in March 2017, a little over 7 years ago, Khan said that terrorist attacks were part and parcel of living in a big city. This is, of course, not really true. Budapest is a big city, and terrorist bombings and pedestrians being mown down by crazed fanatics is not really part and parcel of life there at all. Nor is it in Prague, Oslo, Warsaw, Canberra, Hanoi, and many other big cities. It is, however, part and parcel of life in Kabul, Islamabad, Baghdad, Beirut, and London, to give a few instances. What is the common factor here, I wonder? One thing that such cities have in common is, of course, that a lot of Muslims live there. I wonder if anybody has noticed how the street architecture of London has been engineered to cope with the threat of Muslim terrorism. I am talking now of such things as the massive barriers which prevent cars driving onto the pavement on the bridges of central London. They are ugly and intrusive, and also an acknowledgement that fanatical Islamists are likely to attempt to massacre civilians in the middle of London. I mention Muslims here because, of course, we all know perfectly well that the attacks on bridges which those barriers are designed to thwart, those on London Bridge and so on, were carried out by Islamists rather than those mythical far-right terrorists about whom we read in the newspapers. Has anybody noticed the stainless steel bollards which are now a prominent feature around public buildings? These too are to deter Muslim suicide bombers who might otherwise be tempted to ram a car loaded with explosives into some government office or other. I dare say that viewers will be able to cite their own favourite examples of this modern trend in London. It's spread now to other cities, provincial cities like York, are now hastily erecting these bollards to prevent cars driving over pavement and killing a lot of pedestrians. They've been installed in York, for instance. Obviously, I'm not saying that all Muslims are terrorists. That would be absurd. But it is certainly the case that all the terrorist bombers this century have been Muslim in this country. It is only in cities which have a large Muslim population that terrorist attacks are, as Sadiq Khan puts it, part and parcel of life. The truth is that Muslims have a far greater influence on our way of life than their percentage in the general population might suggest is reasonable. We are actually designing our cities to cope with Muslim activists, and now they're beginning to acquire power in local authorities. Often, local councils are very finely balanced between different groups. The Conservatives, Liberals and Labour members usually hammer out modus vivendi because, of course, they all share similar values and know how to arrange things in a civilised fashion. I wonder what will happen if we get more Islamists sitting on the council, men who are prone to shouting Allahu Akbar and raving on about the Middle East. Does anybody think that this will benefit local issues? Perhaps not. The remedy for this particular peril is for British people to vote, of course. That the turnout in the election for Mayor of London was just 40% is shocking. No wonder a man like Khan was able to get in with just 18% of the vote. Yes, that's right. Fewer than a fifth of the electorate voted for Sadiq Khan. And yet here he is again. We need some action at the next election to get people out to vote. This is particularly important because of the Muslim Vote organisation, to which I shall, I think, have to devote a separate video.